Start with a dream and share it with some friends. The idea deepens and grows. The dream takes shape, it has form and substance. A community soon arose. A listening room, a hearing room, a place to find a home to play. A listening room, the hearing room. Express yourself and have your say. The walls are thin, sirens blare. The tables sit near folding chairs. The stage is set with paint and blue, and love went into every screw. The light shine bright on every star. They come to play from near and far. The light shine bright on every star. They come to play from near and far. A listening room, a hearing room, a place to find a home to play. A listening room, a hearing room. Express yourself and have your say. Hearing room, a listening room. You're welcome here, so have no fear. The hearing room, the hearing room. Come in, my friend, where art can bloom. And hello, welcome to the Woodshed podcast. I'm Aaron Tornberg. And we're here tonight with Cathy Main. How are you doing, Cathy?
Oh, I'm great. Thanks for having me, Aaron.
Yeah, so I'm excited you're on the show. We have a good time at the open mics and everything, but it'll be good to get to know you a little bit. So let me talk about the Hearing Room for a little bit here, too. So the Hearing Room is a nonprofit organization. And we are looking for members, but we're also a place to come hang out. There are lots of things to do here. There are all kinds of events we have. And the first one is the Woodshed podcast, which is tonight. And you can hear it right now because you're listening. And there's also the open mic, which comes on Tuesdays, that's 7 to 10. The Let's Have Words, spoken word open mic, that's 7 to 10 on Wednesday. The Sing and Jam, Thursdays, 7 to 10. And the Friday night jams, there's going to be a bunch of them coming up. There's going to be also other open mics on Fridays. We even have a Pink Floyd open mic coming up at some point on Friday or Saturday. I have to check. It's the 13th, which I wonder if that's Friday the 13th. I don't remember. But lots of stuff going on Fridays. I do the acoustic jam, and there's also the jam for the bluegrass people. And that's on the third Friday of the month. So all that happens at the Hearing Room. And then on Saturdays, it varies. There's all kinds of stuff going on, including live performances by various people. And there are also a lot of things going on Sunday. We have the drum circle from 12:30 to 1:30 and the open mic from 2 to 5. That's the one I run. We are going to be having some other events coming up, including Guy Davis on March 8th is going to come after the open mic. So on March 8th, it's going to be a great show. We already are almost sold out. So if you want to get your tickets, do it now because you're going to need them. You need to do it now. And I don't know if we can do a second show, so this might be your last chance. So if you are planning on coming, please go online, get your tickets. We might get some people at the door, but if we're all sold out, that won't work, will it? So we'll see. In any case, Guy Davis, and then in April we have the Kennedys, and they're also going to do a Sunday event, which is in April, and I'll talk about that as it gets closer as well. I also want to thank the Greenville Junction, Junktion, Shoppe, Shoppe. Greenville Junction Shop is an upcycling shop. That means that they take stuff that previously was used and now is like new and available to purchase. And it's stuff that you can use, like I've gotten a MacBook Pro from them. I've gotten a table that I needed that was the perfect length and width and folded up. It's all neat and clean and everything else. So lots of stuff from the Greenville Junction Shop is available online at Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace. So Greenville, Junktion, Shoppe, Greenville Junction Shop in Clinton, Massachusetts, and in Greenville, New Hampshire. So check them out, and also greenvillejunction.com is their website, so you can check that out too. All right, so Cathy, what's new?
Well, I bought my ticket for the Kennedy show already.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, because they're teaching before the concert.
Right, workshop.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, and that's going to be, I think he's teaching guitar.
Yeah, he's really a good teacher. I had him at Summer Songs camp last year. He's really great. So
yeah, it should be a lot of fun. And Guy Davis is coming up even sooner, and that's going to be great too. We've got a lot of good stuff coming up, not to mention the singing jam and the open mic and my open mic and all the other good stuff happening at the Hearing Room. So, Cathy, before we get into your life history and everything, you had mentioned you had some interesting hearing room experiences. You want to share one of those?
Oh, yeah. The first time I came here was over 2 years ago now, I believe. And Rick Dross had invited me to a fundraiser. He was playing that night. So I listened to all the amazingly talented people. And I don't know why. I don't know what got into me, because I normally wouldn't do this. But I came to the back and I said to you, "Can I play a couple of songs?"
Right.
And you pointed to your guitar. And it was right there, right beside you.
Right.
So I wasn't thinking anything of it. I got up on stage. I played a couple of songs. One of the songs I played was Dear Caroline, which is the first song that I ever wrote, and I wrote it as a kid. And we'll get into that probably during this podcast. But there was this woman in the audience. Oh, my God. She jumped up as I was coming off the stage, and she said, "You're nostalgia with hope." Basically, she was saying, "I need you in my life, and I will help you." All right. I'm like, whoa. And it was just one of those moments of validation that as a performer and as someone that, even though I'm 102, I haven't gotten out that much. And for someone to give me that kind of cheerleading was absolutely amazing. And at that moment, it was like I was imprinted to the hearing room, because so often this is a lonely thing, and you have to have your community to make sure that you're connecting and that you're trying new things and all that stuff. So, yeah, that was quite a moment. That was great.
So who was that person?
Colette O'Connor.
Right, because she might be listening. I don't know.
Colette, hello. Yes, I had a brief conversation with her last night. She was in the middle of a final, so we didn't talk for very long. But I said, "Is it okay if I use that?" And she said, "Of course." I said it.
Yeah, and she's listening probably, I bet. Then.
Probably, yeah.
Or at least will later. Anyway.
She was amazing, and I love her songwriting, and she's just so effervescent and energetic. And
yeah, her podcast episode was great. Yeah, it was really fun to listen to. Doing the 1940s stuff she did was
she's
awesome.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
One of the other people that she sort of took under her wing was Mike. Oh God, Doyle. Is it? He writes fabulous songs, and he got started fairly late in his life. I think it's Doyle.
Is he from the Providence area, or?
I believe so, and they did some of the 1940s stuff together, I believe. And so it's just awfully nice when we do that for each other. I've done it a couple of times here at the Hearing Room open mic. A young man, Jamie, contacted me this week. He was looking for a open mic for young, kids, and I helped him. I, contacted Snake to see if he knew where it was, and it's just such a wonderful community,
Right. We tried to do an open mic for high school kids. It didn't work out so well.
Yeah.
We did one that was very successful, and then the second time, everybody was a no-show, so it was weird.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's very strange.
It would be really cool if Jamie could be one of the MCs to get the young people in.
Well, have him call us.
I know, I should. I'm going to tell him that I mentioned him tonight. He might be listening too. So, one hand washes the other, and it's, you lift each other up, and it's just such a difference. There's been places that I've been to as an older woman, and I think there is some older woman oppression out there where, you kind of do your thing and no one kind of says anything, and you go home and you wonder why you keep doing it. And that's why I need the Hearing Room in places like this so much, because that simply doesn't happen here.
Right. And, we love you coming to the open mics, and so let's talk about you a little bit.
Okay, great.
So where you're from, I saw in the your description of yourself, but why don't you tell everybody?
Sure. I'm from Wolfeboro, New Hampshire. I grew up there, right on the shores of Lake Winnepesaukee. It's kind of interesting because I remember probably I was about 5, and I used to go down in the middle of Wolfeboro and fish by myself. And I think, really, was I 5? But in those days, you kind of did it. I knew enough to sort of lay down so I didn't fall in. I'd hold my pole.
Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer did it, right?
Exactly.
They weren't 5, but they were young.
And maybe I was a little older than that, although I have a picture of myself just before I went off on one of my excursions, and I looked like I was about 5. And the biggest thing on a summer day was if you got your hook stuck in a log, or you brought up an old boot, or you lost your hook, you'd have to go over to the bait shop and hope that you had a few cents to get another one.
Did you ever bring up a boot?
Oh, yes. Oh,
really?
Yeah. Right there in the harbor. Yep, I did.
Why is everybody throwing their boots into the lake?
I don't know.
That's weird.
Yes, that was an unfortunate mishap.
Was that like a thing? People were like, "Oh, I'm done with these shoes," and they just whip it into the lake?
I'm hoping that's it, and not some accident or something.
Not cement shoes.
Right, right. Yeah, so it was a wonderful place to grow up. And I think I also mentioned that, sitting silently in nature as a young kid and just looking around and humming and wondering a lot. That was my pleasure. That was what I did. And no one made my fun. And I think all the kids in the neighborhood were the same way. We just made it happen. And we were really pretty good kids when I look back. Used to play a lot of baseball in the schoolyard above my house. And, that's where the lessons were learned in the schoolyard. So... Yeah, I was the first baby in the new wing of Huggins Hospital, and I suppose I should say it, 1950. They needed a baby because they were having this open house, so they kept me another day. Can you imagine that? So I was literally on stage the first day of my life.
I can imagine your parents asking for a deal on the bill.
Right? And the story goes that I kept putting my left foot out of the covers, and they couldn't keep it in. And it's probably it says a lot about me, because I think I'm a little bit like that still. One thing, though, that was really terrifying back in that day, and I do think it had a lot to do with who I am and my development, is I actually had polio in
really?
1954. Yeah, the epidemic. My sister, who's 11 months older than me, her name's Jennifer, I remember her having it, and I remember observing her not being able to walk, but I really don't remember the experience myself. we were very lucky. We weren't impacted by it. But, it's really weird that I was looking on the internet one day, and there still is one woman living in an iron lung, 65 years in an iron lung.
Wow.
Her name is Martha Lillard, Lillard. She somehow still has joy. She can take herself out of the iron lung for short periods of time. She wasn't a good candidate for some of the newer models of respirators and so forth. Mm-hmm. And she explains it, I think it was on like PRX or maybe NPR, that it actually gave her a tremendous amount of comfort to be able to breathe. And boy, isn't that true for all of us, is that ability to breathe is pretty basic. It's
important, yeah.
So I always feel lucky. Every day of my life, I feel tremendous gratitude for being able to walk around and run around and play baseball and play the guitar and do all kinds of stuff.
So what did you do for school? You went to public schools and
went to public schools, carpenter school in Wolfeboro, New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. For the first 5 years of school. My father died when I was in 5th grade, and Mom tried her darndest to find work. And one of the jobs that she applied for was at Bement School in Deerfield, Massachusetts, and she was going to be a house mother. It sounded like a good idea, but when you think about a kid who's just lost her father and they give away their dog and, give up their duplex apartment and all those things, it was a little much for me. I, at that point, was pretty overwhelmed. Stayed there for a bit and then ended up going back to Wolfeboro and finishing out grammar school and a little bit of high school before we moved to Meredith, which is on the lake as well. Mm-hmm. So always been around the lake. Gone to camps around the lake, a lot of activities around the lake. I can't even tell you how many times I've been on the Mount Washington, which is the boat that goes around the lake. Probably close to 100 times.
I've never been there.
Oh, dear. You should go.
I've been around that area. I just haven't been on the boat.
Yeah. It was pretty neat. Neat place to grow up.
Yeah, so you moved to Deerfield, and then you went to high school there as well?
No, we actually that year, I wasn't adjusting very well in my fifth grade year. Actually, at this point, it was 6th grade. And we came back to Wolfeboro, and I finished out carpenter, went to a year of Kingswood in Wolfeboro, and then transferred to Interlakes in Meredith and graduated from there.
And so how was high school?
Oh, it was quite interesting. They say it's probably not a good idea to take kids out of their high school.
Okay.
So I was, our duplex was situated on Union Street, and on the other side of the duplex was the pastor and his wife and all of their children. And I was pretty well behaved. I had the idea in a small town that there were always eyes on me and that I should behave. Well, when we got to Meredith, there were no eyes on me.
Okay.
And I had a very good time, a wonderful time, thinking that, no one will ever know, until I was on the console of my boyfriend Steve's car.
The console?
No seatbelts. You know how the console in the middle there? There were no seatbelts. Oh,
you were sitting on it? Okay.
Yeah, with a cigarette in my hand. And the pastor's wife went by. Like, what was she doing 20 miles away from Wolfeboro? I don't understand it.
Yeah, she has a lot of nerve.
She has a lot of nerve. And so probably not the best time to transfer when you think about it.
Well, so were you a bad girl, like, the Grease kind of girl?
No, not really. I was quite timid, actually.
Okay.
I looked like I was bad. But
so you had a leather jacket?
Oh, yeah. I even had a motorcycle.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Well, then you're definitely badass.
A 305 Honda. I did.
Cool.
And I still, on my license today, it says motorcycle license. It's stamped today. So I could get on a Harley right outside and be fine.
Well, good thing we don't have one.
I know.
This wouldn't be the weather yet, although it was pretty nice today.
It's pretty nice, yeah.
So did you go to college or did you go to work? Or?
Yeah. My sister went to college, and she was more the student. And I thought, well, I guess that's what we're doing. If she did it, I guess that's what we do.
Yeah.
So I went to Dean Junior College on full scholarship. We didn't have very much money, so I got a full scholarship. I didn't do so well. Didn't really have it down how you're supposed to study. I didn't get it that most of my friends were like studying at least the basic amount.
Right.
But I didn't quite get that. So they suggested that I leave with a 0.82 average. But I made it my mission to go back because I really loved that school. And I thought, well, maybe I can do a bit better. So I did go back, and I did graduate. It took me, I think, 5 or 6 semesters. I don't know. It was a junior college. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I went to UNH, graduated from UNH. But I don't think I didn't actually graduate at that point. I decided, what did I decide to do? I left, I think I still had like 40 credits left. And I didn't go into the airlines at that point, but I guess shortly after that, I became a flight attendant for a while. Flew around with National Airlines. And if you remember, National Airlines was the airline that named their ships after women.
Oh, really?
Fly Me, I'm Catherine.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I have my picture taken in front of a plane that says, Fly Me, I'm Catherine.
Okay.
And at that point, I wasn't very aware, to be honest with you, and I thought that was okay.
Was it with a K or a C?
It was with a C, just like me.
So it could be you, yeah.
It was a time where they still could weigh you if you went into the office and they thought that you were a little heavy. Yeah, they could weigh you.
That's not a good thing.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a good thing. You couldn't be married in those days. Mm-hmm. So after flying around for a while, Bob asked me to marry him, and I came back to...
Was he a high school sweetheart? Or?
He really wasn't. No, he was somebody that I met on a blind date around the lake. You know, he was a laker. He had a boat.
All right.
And we had a lot of fun on the lake.
Guy with a boat is a good thing.
Hey, yeah. And, so I'm glad I did all the things that I did. There's nothing's for naught. Everything leads to something. And I met some wonderful people in the airlines. I'm still looking for my roommate, though. Diane Miller, if you're out there from Massapequa Park, New York, please contact me.
There you go. Cathy Main. Personals on the Woodshed podcast.
Right.
So, all right, we've gone long enough without a song.
Okay.
So,
sure.
What do you want to play?
Well, let me do a cover. I'll start with a cover. And the reason I thought I'd do this is because I think you'll see that I've stolen some of the style into my own songs later on. Mm-hmm. But this is one that I wish I had written, but I didn't. And I don't know what happened about 6 months ago. Something happened where the keyboard opened up for me a little bit more. And so I'd like to do this song for you now.
Okay.
you, Aaron.
That was great.
Thanks.
So, just so people know, that's The Sounds of Silence by Simon & Garfunkel.
Yeah.
Everybody should recognize it.
One of my influences.
Yeah.
Weren't they amazing?
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, it was a little later than you, but they were, that was the period when they were doing the Central Park concert. And that was a really big deal. Like in 1980 or 81, whenever that was.
Wonderful.
And they were on PBS, and PBS played it for like 20 years after that.
Yeah.
Right? I think they probably still play it. Great concert. But I remember recording it because I was really into that kind of stuff. My dad gave me a reel-to-reel player, so I was like recording stuff. And
Yeah.
it was great to listen to. That show was amazing.
Just amazing. Just so inspiring no matter when you listen to it. It's just the harmonies and,
And they mentioned Ed Koch and someone's passing loose joints around the crowd. You know, that he has some good jokes. So when did you start writing?
I started writing as a kid. I can remember, even though the ages don't match up, I think because of what had happened to me, losing a parent, that I emotionally was quite young. And when John Kennedy died, it was like a double whammy because I had obviously just lost my father a few years before that. And it was just unimaginable for the nation and for everyone and for me. And I just, social worker at heart, had my eyes on this dear, dear, sweet little girl, Caroline. And my heart just went out to her. And I thought to myself, I have to write her. I have to show her that there's hope and that I think I know what she needs to do. And you know, all this distress and sadness, like everyone else in the nation. And so I wrote her a song called Dear Caroline. It's probably, in many ways, could be rewritten, but I have made a choice not to rewrite it, to really keep it to the best of my ability the way I first wrote it. And so... yeah, that's when I started writing, and I'll play it for you whenever. But
how about now?
Sure, absolutely.
Well, tell us. You have a story about this. I remember. Do you the story about somebody who knew Caroline? Yeah.
Yes, I played it, and there was somebody in the audience that knew Caroline. And they told me that if I were to get a really good recording of it, that they would make sure that she heard it. And I was like shaking. It was one of those moments where, you know, again, we all need to be validated. And it was just like, oh my gosh. And I haven't gotten a good recording of it yet.
Oh.
So it's something I need to work on.
Okay.
Dear Caroline, I want to play with you. Let's play at your house. There's so much more to do. We'll ride macaroni in the pony ring. There's no room at my house for that kind of thing. So I'm coming on the train to Pennsylvania Avenue. And hurry to meet me. I hope I see you. We heard the news, and I'm so sad. We'll build a fort with blankets. We'll talk about your dad. Does your house feel like it's empty? Like nobody's home? Is your mama crying in her room? I won't let you be alone. So I'm coming on the train to Pennsylvania Avenue. And hurry to meet me. I can't wait to meet you. And I know where to go. I've seen you on TV. I'll wait by the gate, Caroline. I hope you see me. You see, I miss my dad, so I know how you feel. I just want him here to see my cartwheel. Tell your mama I'm a good kid. I won't jump on Lincoln's bed. And if you're having something I don't like, I'll have cereal instead. I'm coming on the train down Pennsylvania Avenue. And hurry to meet me. I can't wait to see you. And I know where to go. I've seen you on TV. I'll wait by the gate, Caroline. I know you'll see me. I know we'll be best friends ever, even though I'm turning 7. Just like your dad and my dad will be best friends in heaven. I'm coming on the train down Pennsylvania Avenue. Thank you.
Very nice.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites that you do.
Oh, you're so sweet.
I like
I
that
love
one.
it because it's my most vulnerable, I think, and I love songwriters that dare to put themselves and their feelings into their songs, and just kind of like,
Right.
tell you how life is.
Yeah. Well, you have a lot of songs like that, I think. I think that's sort of what you do really well is sort of feeling songs.
Thank you.
So, you want to do another one?
Sure. I have a funny story about that, though, that I'd love to tell everybody. When I went to Summer Songs Camp, which was in Olive Bridge, New York, for many years, and then they changed the camp to Geneva Point, nearer New York City. But years ago, when I first started going to Summer Songs, Sloan Wainwright, who was a wonderful singer-songwriter, and she was an instructor at the camp, I got home, and a couple of weeks later, and I had been talking to her one-on-one about, kind of what I should do. And all of a sudden, I get this voicemail from Sloan. Call me. I'm like, what is Sloan Wainwright doing calling me? And she said, are you sitting down? I said, yeah. She said, well, I've figured out your way into the music business. And I said, what? She said, children's songs.
Yeah.
She said, there's a vulnerability in some of the stuff that you do that is very hard to teach. And I was like, oh, God, does that mean I have to dress up like a clown? And
No.
she said, no, exactly. She said no. But at the time, I sort of went, oh, man, I want to be a rock star. I don't want to do kids. But since then, the funny thing is about that is I do get that. That's, I think, where I sort of belong. Like now I have grandsons who are 3, and I do lots of music with them. And I write songs now. And one of the songs that I wrote became a finalist in the Mid-Atlantic Song Contest. So it's natural for me to write for kids and to think about how kids might feel. And my grandsons and I are writing a song right now called Getting Ready for School. So I'm having them list, okay, in the morning, what do you do before you go to school? And so they're going to be co-writers on that song when it's finished. So I'm just having the best time with them. But I think there is something to it. I was offered to play for their school in L.A. And, I did it, and I was asked back and got another couple of gigs, children's gigs from that. And it's just a matter of how I make that work back here on the East Coast. I'm just trying to figure that out. And as I taper down my hours that I'm still working a little bit, I want to really focus on that. Kids' songs, maybe nursing homes, people. I mean, unfortunately, some of the people in nursing homes are my age now. I mean, they're not listening to the old swing. They're listening to Simon and Garfunkel, and they're listening to their music, We're there. And so I'm trying to figure out. And one of the things that I love about listening to the podcast is I'm getting all kinds of ideas, like Kirsten Manville.
Yeah.
She was talking at the very end that she could really help me with this kind of thing. And I had no idea that she would do that. Or, I think she charges like an hourly wage for, I'm sure, some advice or something. And so I've gotten all kinds of gems out of all the podcasts. So.
Well, that's something to try.
Yeah, I know. So.
You got a children's song that you do?
Yeah, you want me to do one?
Yeah, do you do it on guitar or piano?
I'm trying to think. Oh my goodness, I have to do a kid's song for Wes and Matthew. I think I'm going to do this one.
Okay.
I happen to have it right here.
This one. Is that what it's called?
It's called Choo Choo Train and Airplane.
Oh.
Can I play that on the ukulele?
Sure.
And sit here, or should I sit there?
Well, you should sit there for the mic. But
okay. It's very short.
Choo Choo Train and Airplane, actually, now you have a train song like every other folk musician, right?
I do. And Carolyn's kind of a folk song when you think about it. I mean, a train song. It's got a train in it. I'm coming down the train.
Okay, well, there you go.
Choo-choo train or airplane, taxi or a bus. Are you going to your friend's house? Hop on one of us. Ride your bike or scooter, heading for Mars. Whizzing down Main Street. You get it? Main Street, Cathy Main. On the back of this ukulele. Wind in your hair, blowing on your face. Tell my dog to come along and we will have a race. Yeah. Fire truck or police car, taxi or a bus. Are you going to your friend's house? Hop on one of us. Wind in your hair, blowing on your face. Tell my dog to come along and we will have a race. Yeah. Choo-choo train or airplane, taxi or a bus. Are you going to your friend's house? Hop on one of us. That's for Matthew and Wesley.
And Fly Me, I'm Catherine.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Oh, gee.
Well, you said hop on one of us. Is that where you got the idea?
That's right.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, so...
I'll never live that one down.
Thank you, National Airlines, for
Right.
that, how did you get into performing more? Because you said you wrote songs when you were a kid, so at some point you must have performed. Were you doing stuff in high school or not so much?
Not so much in high school. When my kids were born, we were members of a church in Bedford, New Hampshire, where I live. And they needed somebody to help with the music, how that goes. And so I volunteered. But honestly, boy, I struggled. I really wasn't that good. I worked on my timing and so forth, but I guess it worked because then I became director of some of their musicals for kids and enjoyed that a lot. But as time went on, and my kids started growing up a little bit, so I felt like I could leave them, I went to Sam W., which is the Summer Songs Acoustic Week camp. And I called Dick Pleasance, and I was just like, I was so nervous about signing up, and was it for me? And I was just a beginner. And he goes, no, come along. It's fine. You'll have a great time. So I think I went like 3 years to that camp, and it had a kind of a focus on traditional music, and oh my gosh, the musicians were just amazing. And then I found a songwriting camp called Summer Songs with David Roth and Slane Wainwright and Penny Nichols. Penny was an interesting person from California. She sang with Linda Ronstadt in the Stone Ponies, and she was a backup singer for a bunch of bands out there and had a beautiful voice. And she came to New England, and she was a little lonesome. She didn't really have a musical community. And so she figured out, well, I'm going to have to make one. She started the camp, and that's how that happened. And their whole premise, and I think the hearing room is very, very similar to this, is they get it. That if people listen with a non-judgmental stance, open to new music, new performers, that there's something in that where the performers keep getting better and better and better.
Right.
And so Penny really taught us all how to listen. And what I learned is if I was ever judgmental of somebody else, it was exactly the way I was treating myself. I struggled with the editor for years. My editor of judging what I was doing and the seeds that, would come to me through the muse, and I would just judge them out of existence. And I finally had to, I'd let the editor go into the archives, into proposals, into dreams. I mean, the editor had its way with me. And even though I wasn't a particular judgmental person, in my music, somehow it did come out. The thing that I felt most passionate about and I was most vulnerable at, I seemed to judge most harshly, which is kind of odd, but I did. And I had to learn how to give that up, be kind to myself, take care of those little seeds if you were lucky enough to receive them from the universe somewhere. Right. And really open myself to listen to other people. And I love that I've learned to do that. And it was to, I have to thank Penny and David Roth and Sloan Wainwright for teaching me how to do that. Probably 15 years ago. And then when I started being more gentle with myself, my music started to blossom a little bit, Yeah. Which is always the way, I think. It's nothing profound, but I had to learn that lesson sort of the hard way. Something that I thought for sure somebody was going to tell me that I should get off the stage or I shouldn't sing or something. I wasn't sure what they were going to say, but I was sure it was coming.
It takes a lot of guts to get up and do this, and that's why having a community that models it for other people is great. I remember, there's been a bunch of people I've seen at open mics who are comedians, and that's even harder. Just getting up and entertaining me by standing there and telling stories and jokes is pretty difficult. And then getting up and being able to both play the guitar, sing on key, and write songs that are good enough for people to listen to.
Yeah.
All this stuff takes a lot of practice and work, and I think that, your experience has been good, and as mine has.
Yeah.
Because it's like you said about creating Sam W., right? If you want to get into music, creating your own music experience is often very helpful, and I think that happens in New England for some reason. Like there's a lot of places that happens.
Yeah. And you do have to make it happen, and you have to save a few pennies to make it. It has to be a priority. A lot of people don't have enough money to do some of these camps, but there's a little scholarship money available. And if you save all year long, you can usually make one thing happen a year at least. And the people that you meet, and they're with you for a lifetime. I mean, I have people that are my age now, and we're like 18 when we get together. It's like ages, we transcend age, as they say. And I've met some amazing people. Like, for example, I had a house concert series for a while, and I had people like Michael Peter Smith from Chicago. He wrote The Dutchman. It was an amazing song, and he's so what's the word? Humble, I guess. He says, "Yes, I think maybe I didn't do anything wrong for 3 minutes." I go, "Yes, Michael, I believe you. You did not do anything wrong for 3 minutes when you wrote The Dutchman." But I've got a co-write with him. He arranged one of the songs I'm going to play tonight, called Puget Sound, and he just helped me figure out what needed to stay, what needed to go. Tom Kimball's another one that has helped me so much. There's one song that I wrote called More Than It's Worth, and he just put it over the top with just a few ideas. So the people that you meet and rub elbows with all the time, those are the people that are just amazing.
Right. So I want to take a short break here.
Good, sure.
And then we'll keep talking.
How do you think we're doing? Are we doing okay?
Good so far. The thing that I want to talk about is that we've been discussing the hearing room, and the hearing room is a great place to come for all the events I mentioned at the beginning. They happen every day of the week. There are people dedicated to showing up, opening the doors, keeping the place going. But one of the things we need is the money to pay for rent and utilities and all those other things. It's all expensive. So even though, we're all volunteering and we're willing to give our time for a lot of this stuff, we can't afford to do this out of pocket. And some of the hearing room founders, that's what they were doing for a while. And we need to come together as a community. And if you become a member, it's $100 a year. And that supports the place you love to come. And so those of you who haven't been here should come and participate in some of these events and see why you should become a member. But those of you who are already here and are listening, you should really think about becoming a member. We're looking for 200 members as soon as we can, because that's the number where if we turn the members over every year, if you re-up every year, 200 members would keep the place open. And that's something we need in order to have sustainability. So please consider doing that by going to the website. It's hearingroom.net, and you can take a look at the membership link, and that's where you would join. But also, before you do that, you can take a look at the events, because our events calendar lists the different events that are happening each day of the week. And also, you can check out the podcast there if you're not already. So hearingroom.net is a great place to find all the information you need. Also, a great place to go is Greenville Junction Shop. That's Greenville, JPL, whatever. Okay, let's start over. Greenville, GreenVille, Junction, Junktion, Shoppe, Shoppe. Greenville Junction Shoppe is a great place to go for upcycling, and that means you can buy stuff that's been used and needs to be reintroduced into society. And you can do that by purchasing these items and making use of them. There's a lot of great stuff that the Greenville Junction Shop finds. You can find electronics and household appliances and furniture and many other things that are still in great working order. Even I think he just got a lot of records, vinyl. So if you're into vinyl, that's another thing you could go find there. So to check all that out, what you need to do is you need to go to the Facebook page for Greenville Junction Shop, and I told you the spelling. It's Greenville, JUNKTIONSHOPPE. Look that up on Facebook, and then you can also be looking on Facebook Marketplace under the same name, and you can see the actual items they have for sale on Facebook Marketplace. And their website, greenvillejunction.com. And that's junk with a K. So greenvillejunction.com. And they also do estate cleanout and garage cleanout. Check it out. And Cathy's pointing to herself saying she needs that too. We all do. So check out Greenville Junction Shop. And we're back here with Cathy Main. She never left. I never left. You never left for that matter. But Cathy is going to talk to us some more. So you talked about, going from, you went to junior college and then you went somehow in there. You got married as well. And I assume you had children.
Yes.
Because otherwise I don't know how you'd have grandchildren.
Right, right. So. Chad and Lindsay.
And so you had children, but you also you became a mental health or a therapist of
a licensed independent social worker.
Clinical
social worker. Yeah.
So how did that happen, and when did that?
Oh, that's interesting. I again was a member of a church in Bedford, the Presbyterian Church, and I was doing a lot of deacon type stuff, visiting the elderly, assisting the dying, all those things. And that's where I found this love of social work. And I thought, wow. At that same time, we were going through a time when we realized we needed 2 incomes to do some of the stuff that we wanted to do as a family. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, if I'm really going to think seriously about a career, I want to do something that I love.
Right.
So it was in 92, I think, when I went back to school at BU and got my master's in social work. And then shortly after that, I spent the 2 years that you need to get licensed. And then I became an LICSW.
How was that commuting from New Hampshire to BU?
Well, at that time, they had a campus in Tyngsboro, so that wasn't so bad.
Okay.
We went to Boston occasionally, but not that much. We could pretty much, the professors would come up from Boston and do, I think it was the weekends or something. There were some amazing professors. Melvin Delgado. There were just so many that were great. So I loved the program at UNH, the psychology program. Peter Fernald comes to mind. He was a phenomenal professor. But of all the things that were helpful, I think going into what they call dialectical behavioral therapy, which is a kind of cognitive behavioral therapy for individuals with borderline personality disorder. And that's been sort of my thing for the last 25 years, working with people and helping them recover from borderline personality disorder.
How do you recover from that?
You can't. It's interesting. A lot of people, and part of the stigma of that particular diagnosis is many of even my, coworkers, colleagues, don't know that people very definitely can recover from borderline personality disorder. And there's a couple of evidence-based practices, but dialectical behavioral therapy is the one that we use to help people extinguish all these ineffective behaviors that are just completely, getting in the way of the things that they want to do, their dreams. Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting when you see somebody after going through that program, that they're beginning to get to the core of who they really are and starting to think about things that maybe they missed out on because they had that.
What is it exactly?
It's a personality disorder that develops over time. One of the theories is that some kids are just born really overly sensitive and they don't have the emotional skin so that they can deflect things. They don't have to absorb other people's stuff. I mean, it's almost like you can see those sweet little overly sensitive kids, even when they're little. That coupled with an invalidating environment, which means that for some reason the environment was hard to figure out, hard to, they didn't really get a great sense of themselves. It's not blaming anybody. Particularly, it might just be a mismatch of parents and kid. It could be so many things. So that theory is that over time it develops into borderline personality disorder. And people really struggle with relationships and emotion dysregulation, which is, just a lot of feelings, and resort to a lot of ineffective behaviors. Sometimes it's suicidality. It can be suicidal communication. It can be things like cutting or burning or those kinds of things. So it's fascinating, and it's a work in progress, and it keeps getting better. It was created by Marsha Linehan out of the University of Washington. And I'm flying out to Washington on the 29th to my sister's, they're honoring her at the auction at her school. And so a lot of people from the University of Washington are, co-creators of this thing called DBT, which is what I do. And now the skills connected to that program are so amazing that I think every human being needs them for a more civil world. Truly, we need to be more mindful. We need to be more thoughtful. We need to be able to identify emotions accurately and realize that we're not our emotions, that we don't have to react to them. We can actually let them go by without doing anything.
And we need to learn and teach empathy.
Yes, we do. And self-empathy.
Yeah.
And so it's been remarkable. But the thing that I want to point out is not only are people recovering from borderline personality disorder, and though it's being brought into the high schools. And we are so excited. Liz Mazda and her husband James, with Alec Miller and a foreword by Marsha Linehan, have this amazing book. And I think the difference in the skills that they present for a program in the high school is that they really have a whole module on emotion regulation, which is what the kids need, And so I'm thinking to myself, if I had had those skills when I was in high school, they would have been very helpful. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But again, I think we all need them, and it's my contribution to a more civil world. I believe if we all become more skillful on a daily basis, that it's going to go a bit better. And Carolyn Dillon from BU used to say, we're all like Swiss cheese. None of us get it the first time around. We're always filling up those little holes with new skills and new awareness and new things. And we just keep growing, in my opinion. It's just...
we have to.
We have to, yeah.
Things change. You got to adapt,
Yeah.
It's always a case.
And if I'm seriously going to teach that, then I have to, in a very authentic way, use those skills. Like when I'm on stage and I'm asking my clients to stop judging themselves and to, quiet that voice inside that tells them all kinds of stuff. And you go down into the abyss because you actually listen to a thought, which is foolish in the first place. And so if I'm going to suggest that they do that, then when it's hardest for me to do it, I have to do that as well.
Did you ever get inspired to write a song about one of your experiences as a social worker? Absolutely,
all the time. And of course, it would have to be collective because you wouldn't want to use it any other way. But with some of the things that it's just remarkable. Recovery is remarkable anyway. I mean. When you hear somebody say, you mean I wasn't crazy? All I needed was some skills and support and understanding and awareness. And you go, well, yeah, sort of, it's true. And the validation that we're talking about at the hearing room, just not that you seek other people's validation, but it's awfully nice when you receive it. You have to learn to give it to yourself, but you can't always do that At least I can't always do it.
Right, but the way that happens is by giving it away.
Yes.
And it's like Malvina Reynolds has that song, love is something if you give it away.
Absolutely.
Give it away.
Yeah.
Yep.
There was there's this story. Scott Peck wrote many books back in the 80s. The Road Less Traveled was one of them. People of the Lie, The Different Drum. And he taught people how to come into and evolve into community. And the fact that, come on, we're all one. Let's face it. Come on. That's at least where I'm going.
Right.
And at the beginning of the book, he talks about this story. And it's basically this, kind of like, I guess maybe you would say it's a monastery. And it's dying. Nobody's coming. And it's kind of lost its energy. And it's kind of stale. And, all the wise men get together. And they're like, what can we do? What can we do? And they finally decide that they're going to go to the rabbi, and they're going to go to his hut, and they're going to find the wisdom with the rabbi. So they all go through the woods, and they find the rabbi's hut, and they go, how are we going to start to grow again? How are we going to, no one's coming, and and the rabbi says, I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know. And then he says, I can tell you one thing. And they're like leaning in, like what? He said, the Messiah is one of you. And they're like, what? What? Well, it couldn't be that crotchety Aaron. Could it be Cathy? No, it couldn't be. Could it be Mark? No, I bet it's Kaylee. I bet it's her. No, I don't know who it is. And because of that curiosity and that respect that began to develop, the monastery started to grow. And it was all because of the wondering, like, who is it? Isn't that a wonderful story?
Yeah, it's a nice one.
Yeah.
So, what is your, your preferred, lens, the person who you look at as a mentor in your social work life?
What do you mean? Ask me in another way.
Well, like, do you like Jung? Do you like Freud? Do you like,
I see. I'm very much in the here and now. Mm-hmm. Let me listen to your story. I think I might hypothesize that I have some things that help. I might even pop up to the whiteboard and go, oh my God, does this help? And you'll tell me. I might give you homework. Come back and ask you for your homework. And if you haven't done it, we will spend some time on why. Maybe you didn't understand it. Maybe you felt awkward. Maybe you didn't realize its relationship to your goal. A zillion things can happen. And really modeling joy and saying, look, I've had some stuff happen. You've had some stuff happen. You can bring it in here and express your emotions and be alive in here. And at the end of the day, your job is to go find joy. You are far, far more than any distress or any symptoms. And it's your job, just like it's my job, to find joy in this lifetime. Because it goes by very, very quickly. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. And so that's sort of my take on things. I really use myself. We were talking earlier that I tend to be irreverent. I can be very accepting, but I'm also pushing towards change. And if you set out a goal, I want it fairly time limited. We can review it. We can figure out if maybe something else is needed or if some other kind of therapy is needed. But I call people to task pretty well, I think.
All right, so how much do I owe you for this session?
Oh, man, it's going to cost you.
So do you have any... So initially I'd asked, what songs do you have that are related to this? So what influences you? Is there a song in particular that I guess is influenced by the feelings or the process of helping people in this way?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so. I think really, I do. Do we have, how much time do we have?
We got time.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I want to explain to people that maybe I need community so much is because my mother was raised in an orphanage in Wales. Her teenage mom couldn't manage, and when the Welsh National Children's Home was opened in 1911, my mother was sent to live there.
Okay.
And so she did the best she could, and she was lovely in many ways. And, it was very, very difficult for her. It was very difficult for Jennifer and I as well, not having a mom who didn't have parenting herself. My father was a foster kid. We don't know much about his family of origin, but he did have a family, which was, my mother was never adopted. So I grew up with no cousins, no aunts, no uncles, no one except my, immediate family. And then when my father died when I was 10, it left the three of us, my mother and my sister and I. And it was very lonely. It was kind of all the same. I mean, we found people and we adopted people, and like you did in the 50s, and I think people still do it today. Mm-hmm. Auntie this and auntie that. But there was a real feeling of missing out. And for my retirement present, my daughter took me to Wales, and I was looking and seeking and wondering about the separations and the hurt and the breaks and, the lack of bonding and what the hell happened. Mm-hmm. So my daughter said, let's go to Wales. And Bob was going to go with us, but he wasn't feeling well. He had some medical stuff. So it was just Lindsay and I. And literally we spent several days on the Bristol Channel overlooking out to the ocean. And we went, I think on the third day, to this country inn in Wales. And it was just so healing. And I'll play the song for you that was literally divinely sent to me, I believe. And I kept hearing this voice as I was breathing the beautiful air and the dewiness of the air, and that we all move forward, And I did meet some relatives over there. I found a third cousin. His name is Rob Wilson, and it was really wonderful. But this is what came out of it, and I'd love to play it for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Sounds and rhythms of the sea, sailing to the old country, and somewhere off the rugged coast, a poet and the Holy Ghost calling me, calling me. Many years an exiled heart, kingdoms rose then fell apart, and the ancient walls and cobblestone crying out in haunting tones, calling me, calling me. The sea cries out all it knows, secrets hidden deep below. You can hear them when the tide is low, echoing sailors' souls, and lovely sounds of sacred trees, and broken hearts of those who grieve. When sorrows run fathoms deep, I hear the bard sing them to sleep, calling me. waves wash up on shore, feelings I've never felt before, and I see your face once again, returning on a gust of wind, calling me. The ancient wall along the rim, I hear you whisper, you're home again, calling me. Thank you.
Very nice.
Thanks.
So I liked your intro to that song, because I've heard this song, but the intro helped. So that was good. So you started playing in church. When did you start really going out to the open mics and stuff like that? Is that more recent, or were you doing that for a while?
Yes, that's more recent. Although I did try, I was brave. When I think about it, I think I needed to crash and burn a few times and realize I was going to live through it. There's a place in Londonderry, New Hampshire called the Muse. It's called Tupelo's now, but it was the Muse at the time. And it was this lovely old house. And Kent Allen was one of the owners, and he said, oh my God, I wish I could have a before and after of you. I went, Kent, stop it right now. I'm glad you don't. My hands would shake, and I'd forget the words, and I don't know what it was, but I kept going back. Mm-hmm. I kept going. It was an anxiety that the only cure for was to keep doing it and keep doing it. And every once in a while, I'll have a flash of it, but it doesn't last very long because the importance of what I'm doing supersedes the anxiety. But back in those days, I was just so self-conscious. And I see it with people that come in to the hearing room, and you just want to say, stay, and, just come in, and you're going to have to work through it. There's no getting around it. Right. In my mind. Is there in yours? You just have to do it. Yeah,
you have to keep making sure that you don't lose your nerve.
Yes.
And that's the only way. You got to keep doing it. And, when you get the cat calls or something, some jerk is saying some nasty stuff to you on stage because they're drunk or whatever, you just plow through it and you do it again.
Yeah.
And next time you get applause. You never know what will happen.
Yeah, you never know. I remember when I was first starting out, the seniors in Manchester had asked me to play. And then I was asked to do the Bedford seniors. And so, I'm up there doing my little thing and, doing the best I can. And all of a sudden this lady slams her pocketbook down on the table. I heard her last month. And she goes storming out. And I'm, it's that thing that you've captured a few people in the audience. Are you going to pay attention to them? Or are you going to let that person that just left consume you?
Yeah, also some of those people are quite miserable where they are.
You're right.
And some of them are not. It depends.
And at that point, I almost fell off my chair. And what I did learn, there was a little bit of ageism. I was younger then, and I thought they wanted to hear, you are my sunshine, my only sun.
Yeah.
And one of them came up, and oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Do you know Stevie Nicks? Or do you know, Papa's Got a Brand New Bag? I said, no, I don't really know that song, but I'll learn it. And they were so full of life that I learned in that moment that, oh my God, I've got to step it up if I'm going to play for these fabulous women and men that are just so energetic.
Right.
And I had another time when I was playing for a nursing home in Seattle. And I'm kind of sitting on my stool, and I've got this hat on with a daisy. And I'm like, what am I doing? And it looks like everybody's asleep. And I'm like, oh, my God, well, I'll just keep going. And this one little woman wheels her wheelchair up to me and gets about maybe 3 feet from me. And she whispers, and her name was Mrs. Beale. And she said, what were you thinking when you wrote that song? Can you tell me? And I'm like, oh my God. So she and I struck up a friendship. I wheeled her back to her third floor room. Turns out she was the president of the residents in that nursing home. She was the most amazing person. And I got to spend time with her. And I had to once again revisit some of the things I was thinking, because there was more life in that room than just because physically they were turned inward doesn't mean that they weren't listening and that there was a lot going on.
You know, there is a lot of ageism. I mean, people think if you haven't done everything by the time you're 30, then you're a failure.
Right.
And, you know, most people when they get older realize you've had 4 or 5 lives, you know, because you change and you grow and you get, you know, you decide in a lot of cases that this is a bad path. I need to get on a new path.
And you do it.
And that's important. And it's what keeps us human and keeps us going, you know.
Many people that come to see me have regrets of the way things have gone, right? Mm-hmm. And the one thing, I think it's a Zen thing, I'm not sure, I forgot now, says, and this has been in the literature, and I've been teaching this stuff on a state level for years, and I did not realize that this one saying was in the midst of all this material. Every decision that you make today determines your future. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, whoa, that's pretty heavy. And I was thinking, okay, so if I say I want to watch my diet and I pop that candy, every decision that I make today is creating my future. Mm-hmm. And just having that awareness, it's like, oh, at any moment, I can change my decision making. And it's really pretty promising when you think about it.
Right.
But I often think about that. Okay, at any moment, I can change what is.
Right.
You know. So that's my little bit of wisdom for tonight.
I think the other thing is you can change what is, but you also change others. And I think that's the key to the hearing room and other places and to getting out there is you don't really play music for yourself, even if you say you do. You might write it for yourself, but you do intend to send a message of some kind.
Yes.
It's if not, no one's going to really respond to the song. If it's genuine, it's something you believe. It's something you think and came from you. And so, you know, it's important not just to keep it all in, but to share it. You know, to share yourself and to...
There's a book that people might like. It's called Big Magic, and it's by Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. Mm-hmm. And it's a little slow at first. I'm not sure about this book, but basically the whole premise was, if you are given something by the universe or the muse, and you don't use it and honor it, it will be given to someone else. And she uses this thing that is almost unbelievable. She's talking about writing this book about the rainforest, and they were going to build a bridge across the rainforest, and they had all the the payloaders and the bulldozers and everything on site. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, the torrential rains came, and all the heavy equipment sunk into the earth.
Right.
Do you remember that story?
I don't. But...
Well, it was just like mind-boggling. And she said she was having, she never did anything with it, kind of put it on the back burner. She was literally having lunch with another author. It was like an artist date, and they were having lunch. And almost verbatim, this other author said, you know what, I'm going to write a story, and this is what it's going to be about. And Elizabeth almost fell off her chair because it was exactly the same story. And not to say that they both couldn't have written about the same thing, but the point is that honor your gifts. Honor what's being given to you. You can't understand why it's being given to you all at once. Mm-hmm. You're not going to know. You know, you're not going to know. And like the song that I wrote about Wales, I had this woman in Dublin come up to me and say, I lost my mom, and I'd love a copy of that. And I gave her a copy of it. I sent her the words, and she said for about 3 months she played it every day, and her wish and her dream was to go back to Ireland and to find the people that her mother knew, and for the healing process. And that's really what this song's about, is the healing process of finally coming back to the States and going, okay, I can move on now.
Okay.
You know, and that's what happened with this woman. And you don't know if it's going to touch anyone or not, right?
Right. But you do change people by your being in their lives too.
Yeah.
Just by, you know, if they hadn't met you, 10 other things might not have happened to them.
Right.
And, you know, inspiration comes everywhere. So someone meets you, they get inspired, and they do something great because of you. And I think, you know, that's really the case with everybody. You know, you affect the world. It's all important.
You do. It's funny because this young guy that was at the open mic last Sunday, not this last Sunday, the Sunday before, Jamie.
Yeah.
Wonderful young man. His guitar playing is wonderful. Great covers, great original tunes. And he was a feature, if you remember.
Yes, I know.
About 6 months ago, I guess, or something like that. I'm not good at
Yeah, it's about that.
And I picked up my phone and I recorded him, a video of him. And I sent it to him. And we've been friends ever since. Not that, you know, I mean, he emailed me the other day and he goes, "Do you remember me?" I go, "Of course I remember you." And it's just that one little thing that was a little gem for him. He could see himself perform. He could, you know, figure it out what he liked, what maybe he didn't like. And he was so grateful. And it's those little things. It didn't cost me anything to be thoughtful like that.
I mean, many of the friends I've made in the last few years have been because of putting myself out there and doing something like you did. You know, I asked someone to be on the podcast, and that's like a lot of fun for them, right? Some people, it's just a normal thing. Some people, it's like very exciting. But then I have a relationship with a lot of the people because why not?
You know, I was thinking of that. Everyone that I've listened to has given me this window into their lives, their personalities, what makes them tick.
Yeah, and going to the open mics too. I mean, you get to know them a little bit. And,
you know, I can't say that. I mean, the community is kind of like an AA meeting. You feel very connected and in love with people, and yet you couldn't tell them their husband's name or maybe their kid's name, but it doesn't seem to matter. You know, it's like you're still intimate, even though it's a different kind of intimacy.
Right. Yeah. So, well, we're getting toward the end.
Wow, we did it.
Yeah.
Right?
I do usually ask the same question at the end of everybody, and that is what advice you give to other musicians or other people in the community who want to do this. What do you tell them?
To connect with a community like here, first of all. Write, have a pencil and paper by your bed. Make it a priority. Give yourself time every day to write. There's all kinds of little courses, like there's OM Daily has a course on writing with the muse. It's $15. I mean, come on. It's 14 lessons in songwriting, and basically if you get stuck with writer's block, that you have to remember that the inspiration and the ideas are coming from the universe to you, and don't let your ego get in the middle of it. Just accept everything, go around with an empty bowl and collect those gems that make these terrific songs. And I'm there to support you in any way I can. I love that. I love supporting young people as much as I love performing. And if I can be of any help to anybody, you can find me. You'll find me. Call Aaron.
Call me. So do you have one more song?
Sure. What do we do? Well, we could do the bar song, or we could do Puget Sound.
How about both?
Really? Okay, one right after the other?
Sure.
This Puget Sound one is the one that Michael Smith helped me sort of arrange. Mm-hmm. And as you know, I visited my mother in Seattle. She lived to be 97 and a half, and oh my God, for at least 15 years, before I got on that flight to come back to New Hampshire, I would think, this is the last time I'm going to see her. Oh my God, this is the last. And of course, I drove myself completely nuts and wasn't very mindful. But every once in a while, she'd have a little TIA, and she scared me half to death. A little TIA, it was a memory issue. And she would always come back, but when it happens to a relative or a loved one, it's pretty scary. Who will run after me? Who will track me down? When she's sailing out to sea, when she's sailing, Puget Sound. Who will hear my melodies, and who will write them down? When she's sailing out to sea, when she's sailing, Puget Sound. Ooh, she comes and she goes. Ooh, nobody knows. Nobody knows. Who will hold my trembling hand, and who will hang around? When she's sailing out to sea, when she's sailing, Puget Sound. Well, thank you, Aaron. It's very hard for a bartender not to overhear conversations. I'm breaking down the bar. I'm stacking glasses on the wall. The money's cashed out. It's way past last call. I'm sweeping tears like peanut shells off this weary floor. And crushed, hurt feelings and broken hearts go blowing out the door. I've heard it all before. But there's a never-ending conversation in the corner booth. They've been there for hours, hashing out the truth. And it feels like 1,000 miles across their table. Will they find love tonight here in the candlelight? He says, I miss you most on Sundays. I miss your goodnight kiss. And every waking hour, there's something more I miss. Can we start again? Can we take it slow? Tears start to take him where words can't go. Where words can't go. They're a never-ending conversation in the corner booth. They've been there for hours, hashing out the truth. And it feels like 1,000 miles across that table. Will they find love tonight here in the candlelight? The candle burns and dances to their whispers and melts melts away the hurt that could blow their candle out. And I can't bear to tell them I'm waiting to close. So I hand them my key and say, lock up when you go, and keep your doors wide open. Lock mine real tight and stay. Get love right for all of us tonight. You're a never-ending conversation in the corner booth. You've been here for hours, hashing out the truth, and it feels like 1,000 miles across your table. You can find love tonight here in the candlelight. You can find love tonight here in the candlelight. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Oh, I loved it. Thank you so much.
It was a lot of fun.
Redefine my life. It was
Really?
a wonderful challenge.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And you did well. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
I know you were worried about having enough to talk about. You had plenty.
You think so? I was a little
Yeah.
nervous at first, but I think I settled in a little bit. You know, I mean, I just listening to all the other people and the wonderful stories and...
Okay, so I'm putting out a call now.
Yeah.
Please validate Cathy if you're listening to this podcast. Please send her a message and say it was awesome.
That would be great. I
Yeah,
would
so
love that. And I will save it.
This is a call to validate Cathy. So
Yes.
I want 100 different responses.
And I promise I'll work on self-validation, but right now I really need you.
Yeah, there you go. And
Thank
the hearing
you.
room needs you too, actually.
That's
so.
right. Hey, I have something for you. 1 minute. Can I say something?
Sure.
I have a challenge.
Okay.
I am giving $100 to the hearing room. And I want you and Kayleen and Mark to figure out 2 people to give them the opportunity to become members at $50 a piece. I want them to be people that have given to this place, that are either young or that they're volunteering and they really want to be members, but they don't have the money.
All right. Well, that's very nice.
Bye.
We will do that.
All right. Wonderful.
So you heard it here, folks. So we've been listening to Cathy Main, and that was a lot of fun. We also want to remind you to go to the website, hearingroom.net, and look up how to be a member, and maybe you could get the special deal. So get in touch with us, see if you want to get a membership, and, come to our events. That's what we want. And become a part of this community is important. Also, thanks to the Greenville Junction Shop and Shoppy, SHOPPEJUNKTION, Greenville Junction Shoppy. So please check them out on Facebook and on the web at greenvillejunction.com. And everybody have a great week.
Bye.
If you start with